You stated belief, and you just sounded like it was an assertion. Do you believe it more strong? Why is that? Why is a square a rectangle?
Why is a square a rectangle? I mean, because square has 4 corners, a rectangle has 4 corners. You know what I'm saying? Square is just like a smaller version of a rectangle. It happens to be even on all sides.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I think that a rectangle is a square, but a square is not a rectangle. Wait. So this is my thing. Okay, so y'all are saying, if a rectangle, you're saying a rectangle is a square.
No, a rectangle.
A square is a rectangle.
Yes.
Okay, so if a square is how is a square a rectangle when the rules, because he was going to say something. When you teach a kid, like a little kid, the rules of how the difference between a rectangle and a square, you say that a square has equal sides and that a rectangle does not. So if a square is what are you saying? A rectangle is a square?
No, a square is a rectangle.
Okay, so if you're saying that a square is a rectangle, how is a square a rectangle if the sides have to be equal? Like that's not special. There's no. It didn't ask if it's special. It didn't ask if it was special. The question is
Wait a minute.
I was just saying.
Calm down. I know there's a lot of passion around this question. Let me.
We're passionate about math. We love math. We're very passionate about math.
Okay. Calm down. Calm down. So wait a minute. There's a whole bunch of folks who need to get into the discussion. So let me do 1, 2, 3, and we need to listen. And then 4, 5. I can't count up higher than 4 or 5. Now, please, let's listen. Go ahead.
All right, so like we said in our presentation, the definition of a rectangle is, quadrilateral is the 4 right angles, but when the two opposing sides are equal, so like you can see here, the length is equal to this length, and the width is equal to this width, right? And those same exact rules apply to a square. The length is equal to this length, and the width is also equal to this width. It's just that the length is also equal to the width.
Well, actually, the rule for what I know, the rectangle, yes, it's 2 opposing sides, but when it's square, it's all 4 sides equal. Not
But
so.
when you say
Wait a minute. No. Everybody needs. Wait a minute.
I get what you're saying.
So, and then 3. Go ahead.
Open your mind, right?
Mine's open. I got you.
So, a rectangle and a square, they follow the exact same rules, right? The only difference is a square has all equal sides. Therefore, if you're categorizing the shapes, the square falls under the same category as a rectangle. That's why we say that a square is a special sort of rectangle.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Wait. Before you answer, can I say real quick? So this is my thing. The question asks. It's a literal question. Is a square a rectangle? You're telling. That's just like me saying. Okay, I have an apple and an orange. They're both fruits, but they're 2 different types of fruit. Like that's what you're saying, but they're 2 different things.
Well, listen, there's different kind of apples, right? You got the Granny Smith apple, you got the Fiji apple, they're all apples, right? right?
Wait,
So you
wait.
gotta understand that there's a category for rectangles, there's a category for circles, there's a category for triangles. There's different kinds of triangles, there's different sort of rectangles. A square is a sort of rectangle. You understand that?
Can I ask a question?
Okay, wait a minute. No. Listen up, because Sharon Spencer is over there, metaphorically turning into grade. Because on Tuesday, she did all that work around listening, right? And what I've seen for the past 5 minutes is, rather than listen to each other, we're waiting for our turn to talk. Yeah, but when you were talking, right, what I saw was, rather than listening to what you said, people were trying to get in line to talk. And we're asking folks, right? Sharon gave us a whole set of skills on Tuesday to sharpen our ability to listen. So I designated 5, right? You were number 2. Let me ask that we do this. The 5 folks that I said to talk, let's give them a chance to state their position without rebuttal, so that we can see how they are thinking about the problem. And once we at least get a picture of how some of us are thinking about the issue, right? Then we'll go through another round where people can either defend or support a given position. But what I want you to do before we defend or support a position is to listen to what positions are being laid out. Because that's why we're here. To not only develop the mathematics, but to develop those listening skills. And I haven't seen any listening for the past 10 minutes. It has indeed been a very passionate issue. So it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Okay, let's hear 3 and be calm and listen to what.
Yeah, I was trying to back up what he said and what she said earlier. I mean, like you said, it's a type of square. They're all parallelograms. That means the parallelograms have 2 parallel sides. It's just the difference is that the rectangle has 2 sets of parallel lines, but a square has 4 congruent sides.
Okay.
So,
Thanks. Right?
yeah, that's
Now
pretty
that's
good.
3, 4.
I was just also just gonna hint at like the definitions for the classification purposes. So like parallelograms, rectangles, and instead of thinking like square, literally equilateral rectangle. Like an equilateral triangle is still a triangle, right? It's at the same sides. Same thing with the square. It's just an equilateral rectangle.
Wait. 5. Position 5. Yeah, back there.
I just think that the definition of a rectangle is 2 sets of parallel lines that form 4 right angles. A square just happens to have congruent sides.
Okay. Now let me ask the group a question. Because we got all those listening skills, right? Who understands Grace's position on squares and rectangles? Who understands it? What is Grace's position on squares and rectangles? The relationship between the two? Why not? Yeah, that's clear. Well, wait. I'm asking not whether you know what her position is, but whether you understand her position. And we can only understand her position by listening to her. Well, I'm asking, why does she think that a square is not a rectangle? Then you don't understand Grace's position. You know what the position is. If you understood Grace's position, here's what would happen. You would say, I think, you would paraphrase it. That's the skill, right? You would paraphrase it, and then you would say, Grace, do I understand your position? And she would either affirm or deny that that's the case. So do you understand Grace's position? Okay, we're going to do a test. You tell us what you think the position is, and then ask Grace whether that's it or not. Okay?
I believe where the confusion lies is that she believes that.
Wait. We're not talking about confusion.
You need to stay with her.
We're talking about Grace's position. Okay? Listen up, but you can't be asked to.
No, you said if you understand Grace's position, I'm just waiting on my turn first.
Okay. But right now we're listening.
Okay, I can listen.
No, we're not asking to get in line. We're listening right now. Okay.
So what she's saying, all right, she's saying that the square and the rectangle follow two different rules. Therefore, they're two different shapes. That's why she brought up the thing with the orange and the apple, because they're two different types of fruits.
Now, ask her if she understands your position.
Am I correct?
Okay. Before I-
Wait, Grace, don't tell us your position.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Tell us whether she understands.
See, in order to understand that she understands, I have to paraphrase, because I want to make sure, because I have to make sure what you're saying is
Okay.
parallel to me. So what you're saying is that I believe that there are two different sets of rules, that they both fall under two different sets of rules, which is why I think they're different. Is what you're saying. And I believe that a square and a rectangle fall under two different sets of rules, which is why I believe that they're different.
Can I really just ask a quick question?
No, you gotta listen.
What?
No.
I can't wait in line. Like, we argue about the same thing for what? Like,
We're not arguing,
Well-
that's
like,
not
who
it.
cares? Honestly, we can't square is a rectangle, square. Like, can we please just move on? I'm really getting ahead of you.
Okay, if you wait a minute, you'll find out why it's important.
It's time to go.
So, Grace, I need a simple answer. Did she understand your position or not?
Yeah, that was a good summarization, yeah.
Okay, now hold on. Wait a minute, no. Grace,
Yes, sir.
when this started, I can wait too. If we were listening to Grace, we would have noticed that she initially told us why she did not believe that a square was a rectangle. She gave us a definition of a rectangle and a definition of a square. And her definition, to paraphrase, of a rectangle was a quadrilateral. It had 4 perpendicular angles with unequal opposite sides. And she just testified to the accuracy of my paraphrase. And that a square also had parallel sides and perpendicular angles, but the sides were all equal.
Yes.
With that definition, a square is not a rectangle.
No, with my definition, because you have to think about it.
I'm sorry,
When
can you
you-
repeat?
Wait.
Wait. Do you understand that?
Right,
I said,
because
can you repeat that?
Oh, with your definition.
Okay, wait a minute. Yes. So,
With your definition.
was that your definition?
yes, that's correct.
So, please,
Okay,
repeat
so-
your definition, and everybody needs to listen carefully to this.
All right,
After
so,
she do this, can we move on?
No, we have to finish it.
I'll tell you what will happen after she does.
Okay, thank you.
okay, so
Go ahead.
I feel, or what I said was that a rectangle is a quadrilateral that it makes 4 90-degree angles, but they're like y'all said, there are 2 sets of parallel sides, but they're uneven. They're not the same. Like 2 of them are not the same as the other 2. A square, quadrilateral, makes 4 right angles, but the sides are even. Because when you see lines that are even, you automatically say square. When you see that there are 2 sides that are longer than the other, you say rectangle. You don't say, oh, Well, that has two longer sides, it's still a square. You say rectangle. And when you see the four sides are equal, you say, oh, that's a square, not, oh, that's a rectangle. So how, that's what I said.
I understand.
You understand?
You're not rebutting right now. You gotta
What
listen.
she's saying, where's a math instructor or somebody that's over us? Are you a math
He just-
instructor?
You need to listen to what people are saying and come to your own conclusion. Not all that. We're dealing with a problem of classification. It's a big issue, all the science. Listen to me. Since you wanted me to instruct. It is a big issue in all of the sciences, classification. Knowing how to do this particular thing will certainly earn you some money in the future. The kinds of conversations you're having in which people are exchanging different opinions, contrasting opinions, opposing positions, is the way life goes on in the United States and in other places. Okay? So you have to learn how to have a civilized, civil conversation with people who you don't agree with and who may not agree with you. Right? So one of my favorite persons in the world, I absolutely disagree with this person all the time. But the reason he's my favorite is he will listen to what I have to say.
Even if he disagrees?
Say it again.
Even if he disagrees?
Yes.
Yeah, he will listen to me. And many times, by his listening to me and then I'll having a discussion, I might change my opinion. Or I might change his opinion. But most of the time we disagree, right? The only agreement we have is that we like red wine.
So on this case, we agree to disagree.
Yeah, I mean, that's
So
one of
let's
the
wrap
things
it
we
on
want.
up.
But I mean, I think a point that needs, what is classification? What are y'all doing? Here, y'all arguing over classification. What does it mean to classify something? And what are, so when you say young lady, when you say rectangle, what do you mean? What does the word rectangle mean?
I have a question.
What does the word rectangle mean?
He wants you to give your definition of it.
What he said right there, that's my definition of rectangle. Like the same stuff they've been saying this whole time, this is that.
You know what the word rectangle says to you?
What is it?
Right angle. Rect angle.
Okay.
Right angle. So you have, all these quadrilaterals or different geometrical shapes have features. And you start looking closer at a feature. For instance, what feature are we talking about with respect to the square and the rectangle? What are the features?
Sides and angles.
Right side.
Angle, sides, parallel.
So the question is, what are you doing when you come to a rectangle?
That's mine.
You've got a parallelogram. What do you do? Once you have the parallelogram, you notice what? There's some parallelograms that have what? They're not like that. They have right angles. And so you say, you can classify all those parallelograms as right angles. Now, that means that the square falls in, if you're only using right angles, the square is right angle.
So basically, he's saying that by my definition, my comparison is correct. By your definition, your comparison is correct. So like still, a rectangle, to me, based on my definition, a rectangle is not a square.
Okay, so
I understand.
Right.
Okay, but
We're finished.
do we have all the presentations been made? No. No? No? What presentation is still on? Okay, is that one? But let us,
As height as well as factors in these numbers here. This is a simpler version. I'm just trying to tape it out. this is the simpler version of it. But basically, so in our head, we did 25 by 1 by 25, and then the 5 by 5. Like, so we were using these lines here to signify other rectangles that could be made with the number.
What is the name of these 2 weeks that were spent together? Yeah, but what's the name of the event? We're training, but what kind of training is it? It's, well, yes. Youth leadership development. Have any of you ever been in that kind of training, leadership development training? Yes. So, if you have, there are a whole bunch of skills you learn, right? And one of the things you do during that training period, it is an opportunity, ideally, to practice those skills in what we call a safe environment. It's a place where you can practice them, you can make mistakes, you know, think about it, you can correct it, you can come back before you go out into the world and try to use those skills. It enables you to go out into the world with a certain amount of confidence that you can do this new job, whatever the leadership field is that you've been asked to do. But in order to leave with that confidence, you have to use that 2 weeks, or however long that period is, as an opportunity to practice those skills. So I appreciate the fact that this was a long and tiresome discussion, but you should use it as a learning opportunity, because that discussion went on for as long as it did, because almost nobody here used the listening skills that everybody has been developing. I have watched you use those listening skills over the past 4 days. But on this issue, no one came forward and said, but wait a minute,